You are listening to The Growth Signal. My name is Alyssa Nolte,
My name's Kathie Feng.
and we're going to get right into it. Kathie, what is your hot take?
My hard take today is growth is not luck, but engineered.
I am looking forward to having this conversation, one, because this is The Growth Signal. So, this is what we're here to talk about. So, you're very on point, very on brand for the
Lovely.
podcast. But I think that there is this really strong misconception that the
Mhm.
people who are more successful than you, the people who've grown faster than you, the people whose
Mhm.
companies are bigger than yours, just got lucky or they knew the right person or something happened to them that doesn't seem to be happening for you, but you're kind
Mhm.
of saying that's absolutely false. It's less about luck and more about strategy
Mhm.
or engineering. So tell me more about what you mean by that.
Yes. I want to do a quick introduction of myself. So I'm the founder and CEO of Signal Growth, where we help founders and entrepreneurs to, kind of engineer their growth by applying Fortune 500 level templates. So myself, I have a background coming from the Fortune 500 company world. Previously at Constellation Brands, were the home to Corona, Modelo, Pacifico, all the Mexican beers, and also Capital ones. I recently took on a new role at the Foot Locker, so going back to the Fortune 500 world role, Fortune 500 world, but I still help founders to, I provide advisories, services to VC and also startups in helping them to kind of bridge a gap between, how the growth looks like. So for me, by seeing so many kind of like established and startup stories, we know the founders pain points in and out, and a lot of times when founders they started something new, they tend to kind of like shooting the dog. They don't know how the growth looks like, but just keep on trying until they hit it, right? So that kind of creates some sort of pain point. Sometimes it's chaotic, sometimes it's a lot of try and error, but from seeing all the different successful and failure stories, we know that growth is engineered. If you see the founding story like more like enough founding stories, some sort of growth templates are usually baked into like a different stage of the growth trajectory. So there's some sort of template or some sort of playbooks for founders from 0 to 1, 1 to 5 million, 5 to 20 million, and the 20 millions above, right? So there's so many people that already kind of paved the way for founders at the different stages. So they make all the different errors so we don't have to. And that's exactly my role as Signal Growth, to help founders discover what's the best growth template and the growth engine for their startups based on the stage.
I think that's really important too. Like, I love that you're specifying based on the stage because I think about the business I originally built from going from like zero customers just to that first customer
Yeah.
was an entirely different approach, and the things that I had to do and the way I had to behave and the thoughts I had to work through and the
Mhm.
messaging was very different than
Yeah.
where I'm at now, where I have an established client base. I have stories I can tell. The way I grow my business is much less scrappy, is the wrong word, because I'm not doing like the cold calling thing anymore like I did when I
Mhm.
was first getting started. I'm not pitching projects and taking a loss on the deal simply to have a client on my logo roster. So, how do you figure out where the right templates fit, and
Mhm.
how do you, I guess, actually maybe this is two-part question, how do you figure out what template you should be using based on your stage,
Yeah.
and how do you deal with people who are maybe delusional about what's worked in their
Mhm.
business? Because I've seen people come from a Fortune 500, do
Yeah.
a startup, think they
Yeah.
can apply all the same strategies that they used at their Fortune 500 and are always disappointed. So
Yeah.
how do we navigate this?
Yes, that's a great questions. I would say to answer your questions in two different way. One is looking at the growth stage by your revenue, right? Of course, there are nuances by industry, by your product, by your audiences, but in general, I think revenue will be a very good indicator in terms of the startup where your growth stages is, right? So for me, from 0 to 1 is anywhere from 0 to 3 to 5 mil, right? So here you are looking at, you're gonna starting with very scrappy. You have an MVP, or you're still building an MVP, and you need to do a lot of different tests and learn. So in this stage, product-led marketing is essentially the key, right? You want to make sure your product is hitting the audiences you want, that you have this offer that somebody loves, not just like, but love, that you can scale before you're setting up to the next stage. So in this case, like this type of environment will definitely different from Fortune 500 company that has $1 billion revenue. The way that operates like in both two worlds are completely different. So there are talents that are very good in driving 0 to 1 may fail like horribly at the Fortune 500 scale, and the vice versa, like you mentioned. So I think that will be the initial stage in terms of using revenue to kind of define where the growth stage you're in. And the second stage will be somewhere around 35 to like 20 million, where you see the hardest climb is, because here you have some sort of MVP. You believe you find some sort of product market fit, that some people love your product, but not everyone is. So you're starting to scale. You're looking to like the next level of the expansion to grab more audience attention, grab more revenues. But here you might encounter a lot of different issues, like you thought people love your product, but that's a small segment of product, so you have some growth bottleneck there, because you need to find new audiences, develop different tier structures. Even from offers or audience expansion perspective, you need to do even more test and learns, even more product features, to continue making sure that this offer or this product is scalable and profitable. So here is an even harder climb in terms of you are shooting all the different directions, and with the limited resources, how do you really prioritize your success? So that's a different stage of the game compared to 0 to 1. And the third phase is what I call it at the growth stage. Once you pass 20 plus millions, you're probably in the Series A stage, where you are still have a lot of opportunity to fail, but you are mostly stable compared to pre-seed and seed stage startups. So here you have the different challenges. So how do you drive 20 million to 50 million or even 100 million? So that's definitely different stage of the game, the different challenges that founders are facing. So long story short, like initial how I define different growth stages, the easiest way for me is by revenue.
Okay, so I just aggressively took notes. So I'm going to try to like parse through because there's a lot of things that you said that I want to come back to. So, one, you talked about in that initial growth phase, right? When we're kind of in that like 0 to 1, 1 to 5
Mhm.
kind of world and we're doing a lot of product fit marketing.
Yeah.
You said somebody loves your product. And I
Hmm.
want to like double click, point out, raise a billboard for that somebody cannot be you, the founder. That
Hmm.
somebody cannot be anyone on your team. That somebody
Hmm.
cannot be anyone who has any stake in you personally, financially, or emotionally. And that somebody cannot be your mom. Because
Yeah.
I have seen so many founders who are like, well, this product is so great and I love it. And
Yeah.
they love their product more
Yeah.
than they love solving the problem. And the market does not care.
100%. Yes. Absolutely agree. There are so many times, multiple times I've seen founders have this, I will call it as a blind spot as well. It's like, of course, everybody loves your baby. Like I love my dog. My dog is my baby, right? I think he's the cutest dog in the world. But objectively, is it the cutest? It may not be the case, right? So a lot of founders have this type of kind of like blind spot in terms of they think their product is the best. Everybody should buy their product. So like, but how do we really looking at it objectively? Like in a data driven and consumer driven approach to really understand, does this product solve the problems of my target audiences? And sometimes the problem can be complex. It can not be just one problem. It could be a different type of problem within that category that this product has to offer. So they're just different, a lot of product testing, a lot of customer feedback loop that needs to be built in the pre-seed stage. So that's what I mentioned. If we go back to kind of like the pre-seed stage, like a lot of VC are looking at product-led marketing, meaning that you already drive your traction with no marketing support, no paid media support, just by product itself. So if the product can prove it can sell itself at a certain level and generate some tractions, we will call it as like an initial stage of the success.
And I think too, you have to really have a framework for stepping outside of yourself when you're thinking
Mhm.
how do you do
Yeah.
this product market fit. So one of my like cheat sheets, I'll call it, is I call it the get it, want it, has the capacity to buy it. So
Hmm.
do they get it? Do they
Hmm.
understand? Do they see the connection between the problem that they're having and the way my solution can help them? Very simple. Do you get what I'm trying to do here? Cool. Pass that gate, pass that
Yeah.
checkbox.
Yeah.
Then for me, it's do they want it? And I very specifically am on a want it train and not like a need it train
Mhm.
because I will forego things I need all the time for things that I want, right? Do I do I need that new Coach purse? Absolutely
Mhm.
not. Do I want it?
Mhm.
Yes. So therefore, I'm going to buy it. Do I
Yeah.
need to go to the gym?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do I want to? No. So I'm not going
Mhm.
to. And so,
Yes.
like, we have to think about it not in terms of what they need, because there's a lot of times where people don't want to eat their vegetables, and
Yeah.
consumers are the same way. So, do they get it? Do they want it? And then the third one that I think people willfully ignore sometimes is do they have the capacity to buy it for what I'm willing to sell it for? Because a lot of times I will come across people who get it and they want it, but if you can't afford it for what
Yeah.
I'm selling it for, it
Yeah.
does not matter how
Yeah.
great and innovative and smart my product is.
Yeah.
I cannot afford a luxury supercar. Do I
Yeah.
get what it would do for me? Absolutely. Do I want one? Yes. I do
100%.
not have the the
Yeah.
amount of money in my wallet.
I
But
love
when
it.
we don't have those three things in alignment, we end up with
Mhm.
products either the market doesn't understand because the solution isn't clear, that they
Mhm.
don't want because they didn't ask for it and there's other priorities, or they simply cannot afford it for what I'm willing to do it for.
Yeah.
And those are hard questions that we have to answer as founders.
Definitely. Absolutely. And like you mentioned, I think two things, I have two thoughts. One is when you mentioned, you're totally hitting the nail in the head in terms of, is this product solving my pain point or it's just a vitamin for me, right? Like if it's a pain point, I will absolutely, my willingness to pay will be so much higher than just if I just want to buy a supplement. So like it really depends on what kind of problem that this product is solving can determine the price tier. And the second thing is when you mentioned about the kind of like I call it winning triangle, like in addition to hitting product market fit was the dream of every founder, I also adding one more layer in terms of the pricing tier, right? Like you mentioned the affordability and also the willingness to pay based on the product like associated with the market. So those three things are very important. It's like, is this offer important enough for me to pay 20% premium? And then that determine your business revenue, right? So like from tier pricing structures and being able to understand your consumer needs and wants and developing the segmentation strategy that's associated with different pricing tier. And from there, you can expand into all the different ways of capturing those audience attention and, like driving their actions towards to, purchase the product with specific actions you want them to take. So that's basically at the growth and the scaling stage. It's a very very important things to really understand your segments and then also dissect it into all the different kind of like permutations of what would be the best kind of like the maximized way of generating your profit by developing all the different tier strategies. So that's definitely one of the my personal favorite in terms of the growth secrets.
Let's pretend for a second that, I'm a business owner. I've got this kind of, win triangle solved, right? I've really got my product market fit. I am growing like crazy and I'm into that next kind of second level that we talked
Yeah.
about where you're at that scale point where you have to expand your market.
Mhm.
How do we expand and bring in new customers when we have to evolve our product?
Yeah.
And how do we do it in a way that keeps our bread and butter and like our OG customers
Mhm.
still the reason that they bought from us in the first place?
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, intentionally decide to shed those customers in favor of a new, bigger, broader, sexier, more high growth market.
Yeah, that's an awesome question, and I believe a lot of founders or scaled companies who are definitely facing that kind of dilemma in terms of when the markets or consumer behaviors are shifting. Do I shift as a founder or as a business, or maintain what I believe is the true, like the passion point for me. So that really determines on the profitability of business, right? I would call it as it's not it's kind of like art and science. Like there's no definitive answer of in which scenario is the best for you, but more kind of like how is your kind of like your like campus, like your mental campus, like balance all the different factors, right? So if you have a lot of fundings and then you just have that true passion points that you have a lot of runway to support you to hit that one biggest problem like all your investors believed in you to begin with, maybe you can push harder than a small business that generate less than 1 million revenue, right? So there's a different way to kind of like a validate or even understand what's the best path forward. But I do believe the most successful founders are the one that's the most passionate about what they're building. So it really is kind of like the unicorn situations that not
Right.
everybody can be a unicorn, but when you see like some founders exit like 100,000 exits their companies is because they truly believe that's the mission, and then they also hit the way through all the different structured tasks, structured understanding of customer audiences, and that problem is big enough. So going back to kind of like how VC evaluates if this startup can have the runway and opportunity to hit that unicorn status is essentially founding team is really important, right? So they look at a couple of factors. One is the founding team. Does the founder have the track record of successful exits, or like, has been serial founder building different product. They have the knowledge of driving 0 to 1. And two is if this market is big enough, right? Because sometimes you're very, very passionate about one project, but the market is just, unfortunately very small. And that's not going to help you with the scale either. So with the track record, you still need to find a market that's big enough for scale and the big enough of the pain point that can be resolved, and that's something that can be that can be assessed before you even start your project by understanding the market landscape, by understanding your potential consumers, right? And the third is definitely like regulation that could be part of the market as well. Like, is there any regulation in upcoming that could potentially, kill your product, or like, a policy change could completely, impact on GLP-1 launches with the different compound pharmacies. Those all the different things are will also need to be considered, right? So if we slice and dice into multiple layers, there are just so many things to consider. But if we meticulously like structure all of them together, then you can somewhat increase your win rate. I would say like in that sense. But so that's also part of why I think growth is engineered, not just because of luck, because there are just so many variables that can be considered and can be modeled and predicted.
Right. And I'm not saying you can't luck into, a great business, a great idea, but
Definitely.
luck alone will not scale you, right? I might luck into a good idea, I might luck into a great team, but
Mhm.
we're not going to go much further than that initial product market fit with luck because it becomes so much more complex and so much more difficult.
Yeah. But unless
And
you're some sort of talented person with some, I don't know, godsend, or like you just have this like, oh, I know this will hit and just keep on going with it.
yeah.
There are success stories like that too, but I would say it's very rare. It's not like, everyday story.
No, absolutely not. And even then, those people have, like, they may have come across a lucky situation, but they have a natural talent that
100%.
has them sit up and say, oh, this is something I should take advantage of. Oh, this is how I need to drive it forward, right? It's not just raining money from the sky as much as, I would love to have that happen for all of us. I will put that out into the universe that will happen for us. But I think, unfortunately, that will be engineered and not something that happens to us by luck.
Yeah.
Considering all the people that you know or aspire to know, who else is out there? Who else should we be paying attention to?
It's very interesting. Like since I become an entrepreneur for the past few years, I starting to follow Tony Robbins. When I was at the corporate world, because I feel like my life has been like scheduled day by day. I have a very set schedule. I'm just basically on the treadmill, so I haven't really had time to like thinking about like my goals, my purpose, like even my mental health. But when I was exited corporate world, that's when I starting to realize, oh, as an entrepreneur, I have so many things to think about, but my purpose and my vision becomes so much more important and prominent, even my identity. And that's when I started to notice Tony Robbins. I would say like the way he kind of inspires people, like especially when you needed some guidance or needed some sort of kind of like anchor in your heart as an entrepreneur. Like he's provide such a motivational like space for you to think about like what's the most important thing for you and how do you continue to get through your goal. And then so I would say for people that may be facing challenges or like feels like you need to be more clear about the clarity or like what be more purposeful about your goals, thinking about what you want to do in 10 years, what really truly matters to you, not just cash that you get every day, right, but something like meaningful impact that you want to make. I think I would recommend to pay some attention to Tony Robbins because he's really a great life coach.
That's one thing too that I want to follow up on because I
Hmm.
think so many times entrepreneurs forget that, like, no matter what you are selling, whether you are selling a service, a knowledge based business, a physical product, a piece of software, to a certain extent, you, the entrepreneur, are the product in a way. And we
Hmm.
have to put the same love and care into our own selves in order to be able to successfully do this that we put into our products and our business and the way we like take
Yeah.
care of it. It's so easy, and I'm guilty of it too,
Yeah.
to let yourself get into a situation where you're not taking care of yourself. So
Yeah.
today I had someone reach out and say like, "Hey, can you update the product to do X, Y, and Z?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I'll go in and do that really quick. No big deal." Like, "Oh, well, you don't have to work through your lunch break to do it." And I'm like, "Oh, I've never taken a lunch break in my life." And then I realized like, "Oh, that's probably not something to be proud of. That's like maybe a questionable physical decision on not taking care of my own health and wellness." And so
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think we have to find ways and people that we can look at and say, maybe they don't directly affect my business. Maybe it's not like I'm learning about something that helps my business, but I'm learning about something that helps me and that helps me connect. And ultimately, that is what
Yeah.
drives my business. So I love that as an example.
Absolutely. And just thinking about yourself as a product as well. Like you have an MVP that's already established. And
Yeah.
if you couldn't take care of yourself and couldn't be able to make sure you have this winning triangle, you
Yeah.
won't be able to scale as a person as well. So like it's just all the different things. I really want to encourage all the entrepreneurs to also make sure that you clear, like you have clarity in your mind. You really like focus on your purpose, making sure this is something that you love that you're doing, and also take care of your mental health as well.
Yeah. And if someone is loving this conversation, they're really connecting with you, they want to learn more, where can they find you online?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. So my name is Kathie Feng, Feng, and my website is signalgrowth.ai. So find me on LinkedIn, connect with me, send me a message. I'm happy to chat about any of your growth bottlenecks and then see how I can help there.
And if you are looking for me, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. Search Alyssa Nolte. And if you find the Notorious Plant Killer, you know you have found the right Alyssa Nolte. I also write on Substack, so come over and find me under the publication Alyssa Likes to Talk. Kathie, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. I love your direction. I love your thought process. And I really think today's conversation is going to be helpful for
Yeah.
entrepreneurs who are looking to scale.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me here. I enjoyed our conversation and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. There are millions of podcasts out there, and something like 70,000 new episodes are released every single day. It's not lost on me how lucky I am to have such an incredible community who show up and support this show. To be a guest or nominate someone who should join me on the pod, head to alyssanolte.com. And if you're looking for ad-free episodes, you can join me on Substack. I post all new episodes of my podcasts and share appearances on other people's shows, plus bonus content and updates on what I'm working on. Search Alyssa Likes to Talk or tap the link in the show notes.